Vertical farming is the practice of growing crops in vertically stacked layers. It often incorporates controlled environment agriculture, which aims to optimize plant growth, and soilless farming techniques such as hydroponics, aquaponics, and aeroponics. Some common choices of structures to house vertical farming systems include buildings, shipping containers, tunnels, and abandoned mine shafts. As of 2020, there is the equivalent of about 30 hectare, 74 acres of operational vertical farmland in the world. The modern concept of vertical farming was proposed in 1999 by Dixon Despommier, professor of public and environmental health at Columbia University. Despommier and his students came up with a design of a skyscraper farm that could feed 50,000 people. Although the design has not yet been built, it successfully popularized the idea of vertical farming. The main advantage of utilizing vertical farming technologies is the increased crop yield that comes with a smaller unit area of land requirement. Another sort of the advantage is the increased ability to cultivate a larger variety of crops at once because crops do not share the same plots of land while growing. Additionally, crops are resistant to weather disruptions because of their placement indoors, meaning fewer crops are lost to extreme or unexpected weather occurrences. Because of its limited land usage, vertical farming is less disruptive to the native plants and animals, leading to further conservation of the local flora and fauna. These advances have led vertical farming companies to raise unprecedented amounts of funding in North America as well as in other parts of the world, such as the Middle East. Today, venture capitalists, governments, financial institutions, and private investors are among the principal investors in the sector. Vertical farming technologies face economic challenges with large startup costs compared to traditional farms. In Victoria, Australia, a hypothetical 10-level vertical farm would cost over 850 times more per square meter of arable land than a traditional farm in rural Victoria. Vertical farms also face large energy demands due to the use of supplementary light like LEDs. Moreover, if non-renewable energy is used to meet these energy demands, vertical farms could produce more pollution than traditional farms or greenhouses. Hydroponics refers to the technique of growing plants without dirt. In hydroponic systems, the roots of plants are submerged in liquid solutions containing macronutrients such as nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, potassium, calcium, magnesium, as well as trace elements including iron, chlorine, manganese, boron, zinc, copper, and molybdenum. Additionally, inert, chemically inactive mediums such as gravel, sand, and sawdust are used as soil substitutes to provide support for the roots. The advantages of hydroponics include the ability to increase yield per area and reduce water usage. A study has shown that compared to conventional farming, hydroponic farming could increase the yield per area of lettuce by around 11 times while requiring 13 times less water. Due to these advantages, hydroponics is the predominant growing system used in vertical farming. The term aquaponics is coined by combining two words, aquaculture, which refers to fish farming, and hydroponics, the technique of growing plants without soil. Aquaponics takes hydroponics one step further by integrating the production of terrestrial plants with the production of aquatic organisms in a closed-loop system that mimics nature itself. Nutrient-rich wastewater from the fish tanks is filtered by a solid removal unit and then led to a biofilter, where toxic ammonia is converted to nutritious nitrate. While absorbing nutrients, the plants then purify the wastewater, which is recycled back to the fish tanks. Moreover, the plants consume carbon dioxide produced by the fish, and water in the fish tanks obtains heat and helps the greenhouse maintain temperature at night to save energy. As most commercial vertical farming systems focus on producing a few fast-growing vegetable crops, aquaponics, which also includes an aquacultural component, is currently not as widely used as conventional hydroponics. The invention of aeroponics was motivated by the initiative of the National Aeronautical and Space Administration, to find an efficient way to grow plants in space in the 1990s. Unlike conventional hydroponics and aquaponics, aeroponics does not require any liquid or solid medium to grow plants. Instead, a liquid solution with nutrients is misted in air chambers where the plants are suspended. By far, aeroponics is the most sustainable soil less growing technique as it uses up to 90% less water than the most efficient conventional hydroponic systems and requires no replacement of growing medium. Moreover, the absence of growing medium allows aeroponic systems to adopt a vertical design which further saves energy as gravity automatically drains away excess liquid, whereas conventional horizontal hydroponic systems often require water pumps for controlling excess solution. Currently, aeroponic systems have not been widely applied to vertical farming, but are starting to attract significant attention. Controlled Environment Agriculture, SEAA, is the modification of the natural environment to increase crop yield or extend the growing season. CEA systems are typically hosted in enclosed structures, such as greenhouses or buildings, where control can be imposed on environmental factors including air, temperature, light, water, humidity, carbon dioxide, and plant nutrition. In vertical farming systems, CEA is often used in conjunction with soilless farming techniques such as hydroponics, aquaponics, and aeroponic. Abandoned buildings are often reused for vertical farming, such as a farm at Chicago called The Plant, which was transformed from an old meatpacking plant. However, new builds are sometimes also constructed to house vertical farming systems. Recycled shipping containers are an increasingly popular option for housing vertical farming systems. The shipping containers serve as standardized modular chambers for growing a variety of plants and are often equipped with LED lighting, vertically stacked hydroponics, smart climate controls, and monitoring sensors. Moreover, by stacking the shipping containers, farms can save space even further and achieve higher yield per unit area. A deep farm is a vertical farm built from refurbished underground tunnels or abandoned mine shafts. As temperature and humidity underground are generally temperate and constant, deep farms require less energy for heating. Deep farms can also use nearby groundwater to reduce the cost of water supply. Despite low costs, a deep farm can produce 7 to 9 times more food than a conventional farm above ground on the same area of land, according to Safa Riffet, Chair in Sustainable Energy at the University of Nottingham. Coupled with automated harvesting systems, these underground farms can be fully self-sufficient. Floating platforms and barges have been proposed as sites for vertical farming in urban areas where land is scarce. The ongoing Science Barge project first demonstrated urban hydroponic agriculture in New York City in 2007, including several vertical farming systems. A much larger vision of sloped floating skyscrapers has been proposed for Singapore. In this case, the unusual angular design is intended to exploit the open space over the water to capture more sunlight. Dixon Disbaumier, professor of public and environmental health at Columbia University, founded the root of the concept of vertical farming. In 1999, he challenged his class of graduate students to calculate how much food they could grow on the rooftops of New York. The students concluded that they could only feed about 1,000 people. Unsatisfied with the results, Disbaumier suggested growing plants indoors instead, on multiple layers vertically. Disbaumier and his students then proposed a design of a 30-story vertical farm equipped with artificial lighting, advanced hydroponics, and aeroponics, developers and local governments in multiple cities have expressed interest in establishing a vertical farm. A company named Podponics built a vertical farm in Atlanta consisting of over 100 stacked grow pods in 2010, but reportedly went bankrupt in May 2016. In 2012, the world's first commercial vertical farm was opened in Singapore, developed by Sky Greens Farms, and is 3 stories high. They currently have over 109-meter tall towers. In 2012, a company named The Plant debuted its newly developed vertical farming system housed in an abandoned meatpacking building in Chicago, Illinois. The utilization of abandoned buildings to house vertical farms and other sustainable farming methods are a fact of the rapid urbanization of modern communities. In 2013, the Association for Vertical Farming, AVF, was founded in Munich, Germany. By May 2015, the AVF had expanded with regional chapters all over Europe, Asia, USA, Canada, and the United Kingdom. This organization unites growers and inventors to improve food security and sustainable development. The AVF focuses on advancing vertical farming technologies, designs, and businesses by hosting international info-days, workshops, and summits. In 2015, a London company, Growing Underground, began the production of leafy green produce underground in abandoned underground World War II tunnels. In 2016, a startup called Local Roots launched the Terra Farm, a vertical farming system hosted in a 40-foot shipping container, which includes computer vision integrated with an artificial neural network to monitor the plants and is remotely monitored from California. It is claimed that the TerraFarm system has achieved cost parity with traditional outdoor farming, with each unit producing the equivalent of 3 to 5 acres of farmland using 97% less water through water recapture and harvesting the evaporated water through the air conditioning. The first vertical farm in a U.S. grocery store opened in Dallas, Texas in 2016, now closed. In 2017, a Japanese company, Mirai, began marketing its multi-level vertical farming system. The company states that it can produce 10,000 heads of lettuce a day, 100 times the amount that could be produced with traditional agricultural methods, because their special purpose lights can decrease growing times by a factor of 2.5. Additionally, this can all be achieved with 40% less energy usage, 80% less food waste, and 99% less water usage than in traditional farming methods. Further requests have been made to implement this technology in several other Asian countries. As of 2020, Bowery Farming is the largest indoor vertical farming company in the United States. In 2022, multiple firms reduced their operations of harvest and farm or exited the market, low farms, due to rapid increases in energy prices. Firms shifted their focus to regions with severe water constraints and to lower energy costs. Traditional farming's arable land requirements are too large and invasive to remain sustainable for future generations. With the rapid population growth rates, it is expected that arable land per person will drop about 66% in 20. Vertical farming allows for, in some cases, over 10 times the crop yield per acre than traditional methods. Unlike traditional farming in non-tropical areas, indoor farming can produce crops year-round. All-season farming multiplies the productivity of the farm surface by a factor of 4 to 6 depending on the crop. With crops such as strawberries, the factor may be as high as 30. Vertical farming also allows for the production of a larger variety of harvestable crops because of its usage of isolated crop sectors, as opposed to a traditional farm where one type of crop is harvested per season. Vertical farms allow for a multitude of different crops to be grown and harvested at once due to their individual land plots. According to the USDA, vertical farm produce only travels a short distance to reach stores compared to traditional farming method produced. The United States Department of Agriculture predicts the worldwide population to exceed 9 billion by 2050, most of which will be living in urban or city areas. Vertical farming is the USDA's predicted answer to the potential food shortage as the population increases. This method of farming is environmentally responsible by lowering emission and reducing needed water. This type of urban farming that would allow for nearly immediate farm to store transport would reduce distribution costs and shorten produce travel time. In a workshop on vertical farming put on by the USDA and the Department of Energy experts in vertical farming discussed plant breeding, pest management, and engineering. Control of pests like insects, birds, and rodents is easily managed in vertical farms because the area is so well controlled. Without the need for chemical pesticides, the ability to grow organic crops is easier than in traditional farming. Crops grown in traditional outdoor farming depend on supportive weather and suffer from undesirable temperatures, rain, monsoon, hailstorm, tornado, flooding, wildfires, and drought. Three recent floods in 1993, 2007, and 2008 cost the United States billions of dollars in lost crops, with even more devastating losses in topsoil. Changes in rain patterns and temperature could diminish India's agricultural output by 30% by the end of the century. The issue of adverse weather conditions is especially relevant for Arctic and subarctic areas like Alaska and northern Canada, where traditional farming is largely impossible. Food insecurity has been a long-standing problem in remote northern communities where fresh produce has to be shipped large distances, resulting in high costs and poor nutrition. Container-based farms can provide fresh produce year-round at a lower cost than shipping in supplies from more southerly locations, with a number of farms operating in locations such as Churchill, Manitoba, Alaska. As with disruption to crop growing, local container-based farms are also less susceptible to disruption than the long supply chains necessary to deliver traditional-grown produce to remote communities. Food prices in Churchill spiked substantially after floods in May and June 2017 forced the closure of the rail line that forms the only permanent overland connection between Churchill and the rest of Canada. Up to 20 units of outdoor farmland per unit of vertical farming could return to its natural state due to vertical farming's increased productivity. Vertical farming would reduce the amount of farmland, thus saving many natural resources. Deforestation and desertification caused by agricultural encroachment on natural biomass could be avoided. Producing food indoors reduces or eliminates conventional plowing, planting, and harvesting by farm machinery, protecting soil, and reducing emissions. Traditional farming is often invasive to the native flora and fauna because it requires such a large area of arable land. One study showed that wood mouse populations dropped from 25 per hectare to 5 per hectare after harvest, estimating 10 animals killed per hectare each year with conventional farming. In comparison, vertical farming would cause nominal harm to wildlife because of its limited space usage. Vertical farms must overcome the financial challenge of large startup costs. The initial building costs could exceed $100 million for a 60-hectare vertical farm. Urban occupancy costs can be high, resulting in much higher startup costs and a longer break-even time than for a traditional farm in rural areas. Opponents question the potential profitability of vertical farming. In order for vertical farms to be successful financially, high-value crops must be grown, since traditional farms provide low-value crops like wheat at cheaper costs than vertical farms. Louis Albright, a professor in biological and environmental engineering at Cornell, stated that a loaf of bread that was made from wheat grown in a vertical farm would cost us $27. clearly showing how crops grown in vertical farms will be non-competitive compared to crops grown in vertical farms. The costs of operating these farms must decrease, or the price of traditional farming must increase. The developers of the TerraFarm system, produced from second-hand 40-foot shipping containers, claim that their system has achieved cost parity with traditional outdoor farming. According to a report in the Financial Times as of 2020, most vertical farming companies have been unprofitable, except for a number of Japanese companies. During the growing season, the sun shines on a vertical surface at an extreme angle, such that much less light is available to crops than when they are planted on flat land. Therefore, supplemental light would be required. Bruce Bugbee claimed that the power demands of vertical farming would be uncompetitive with traditional farms using only natural light. Environmental writer George Monbiot calculated that the cost of providing enough supplementary light to grow the grain for a single loaf would be about $15. An article in The Economist argued that even though crops growing in a glass skyscraper will get some natural sunlight during the day, it won't be enough, and the cost of powering artificial lights will make indoor farming prohibitively expensive. Moreover, research in 2007 on the Science Barge Urban Farming Project led Ted Kaplow to conclude that generating enough electricity using solar panels requires an area about 20 times larger than the area being illuminated, which will be hard to accomplish with larger vertical farms. As the book by Dr. Dixon Despommier, The Vertical Farm, proposes a controlled environment, heating and cooling costs will resemble those of any other multiple-story building. Plumbing and elevator systems are necessary to distribute nutrients and water. In the northern continental United States, fossil fuel heating costs can be over $200,000 per hectare. Research conducted in 2015 compared the growth of lettuce in Arizona using conventional agricultural methods and a hydroponic farm. They determined that heating and cooling made up more than 80% of the energy consumption. If the energy consumption is not addressed, vertical farms may be an unsustainable alternative to traditional agriculture. The energy requirements of vertical farming lead to significant land use to provide the energy. For every acre of crops grown via vertical farming, 5.4 acres of solar panels would be required to supply the energy via solar power. Thus, in practice, vertical farming may require more land than traditional farming, not less. There are a number of interrelated challenges with some potential solutions. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to please like and subscribe. If you have a topic you would like to suggest, leave a comment.